Welcome to Lead Stronger Longer, the podcast that inspires you to lead yourself personally and professionally, purposefully. Today's guest is Lesley Jane Seymour, a trailblazing media entrepreneur and founder of CoveyClub. Lesley is renowned for her tenure as editor in chief of More magazine, where she increased readership to 1.5 million and made history by featuring Michelle Obama as a guest editor, garnering 8.5 billion media impressions. She has led Marie Claire and Redbook to numerous prestigious awards, and she has spearheaded impactful cause-related initiatives. Lesley's vast experience includes roles at YM, Glamour, and Vogue, and she is the author of 2 books. A dynamic speaker and influencer, Lesley continues to shape the media landscape and empower women globally. Welcome, Lesley Jane. I am so excited to have you
Great to
here.
be here. Really great to be here.
Yeah. Thank you for taking the time to
Sure.
share with my audience and the world. We always like to start with your favorite quote or mantra.
My favorite mantra is it ain't over till you say it's over. And
Mm,
that is about for everybody I know who says, I just lost my job or I'm being forced out or I'm being pushed out or somebody's, telling me to get off the stage. Somebody's telling me I shouldn't reinvent myself. Someone's telling me I can't be a grandmother and have a job and run a marathon. It what I say is it's not up to them. It's up to you, right? And we get to decide. Nobody else, not society, not a company, not your boss. You decide. And that's basically what I'm all about.
I love that so much. And I would love to know how you've actually applied that specifically, because I bet there's some good stories there.
Oh, yeah, well, totally. I mean, when More magazine closed, that was the 4th magazine that I ran. And when it closed, I had to say, like, what am I going to do next? And, there were a lot of possibilities of going on and running another magazine. And I was like, I've run 4. Why do I want to run another one? And it was just getting very sad. Whereas in the beginning, when I was running magazines, you would have group meetings and it would be about, we sold more magazines, everything's great, we're selling more. And it was always cheerful and upbeat. And because of the situation for publishing, which was sort of circling the drain, it was the opposite. You would be pulling people into an office to say, we're letting, 10% of the staff go again. And that's no fun. That's not a way to run I didn't want to be part of that anymore. And yes, it's a reality. And I'm sorry that it's a reality, but I did that. And it's no fun. It's no fun. It's depressing. And so I said, what can I do that I can continue to do what I like to do, which is give women a voice and help them be heard on the world. What can I do that will allow me to continue doing that? And so luckily the digital world is here. I ran more.com, so I knew a lot about it. And I said, let me just take my concept online and we'll do what we can do. I'm a solopreneur. I don't have 34 people working for me. I don't have a multi-million-dollar budget. I do my own little thing, but it's the spirit of more, basically.
Yeah, it's so good. And I love the CoveyClub. It really does empower women and gives them a voice. And yes. Okay, so that's a lot. And I used to love More magazine.
I know. We all did.
Yeah.
It's so horrible. What can I say?
Well, yeah, you definitely shared some insight, and I think that's inspiring. So, what led to your specialization?
In women's issues,
Yeah, well,
why I ended up in magazines?
I would love to know, and how then, I know how you shifted to CoveyClub, but yes, especially being the editor in chief, that's a lot of responsibility. And I would
Oh,
love to know how, yeah, it's a story there. We love stories.
yes. Well, I mean, I always wanted to be a writer. And so when I came out of college, you could make a living as a writer. And I started out at Women's Wear Daily, and then I went to the New York Daily News. I wanted to be in newspapers. I thought magazines were too boring and too slow. And they closed the newspaper I was at. They had opened up a secondary newspaper to compete with the Post, but they had never figured out their financial situation. And so they let it was like, I'm telling you, 200 of the best writers in the country out on the street all at once competing to get another job. I couldn't, I was young, I was starting out. I couldn't find another job in newspapers. A friend of mine, it was in magazines at Harper's Bazaar, kept calling me saying she needed a copywriter. I kept hanging up the phone. I was like, that's too boring. I don't want to do that. And then I ran out of money. And I then took her call and I became a copywriter at Harper's Bazaar. I was there for a year and a half, went over to Vogue. I was there for 9 years, and I ended up as the copy chief and running various sections and all of that. And then when you've kind of done all that, I had a baby and I said, it's time to do something else. I freelanced for a couple of years. And then when my son went to nursery school, I decided it was time to go back, and someone offered me the job of beauty director at Glamour. I did that for 3 years, had another baby. And then somebody offered me my first editor-in-chief job, which was YM, which was the old Young Miss. I don't know if you remember that. That was really fun, really crazy. I didn't know what I was doing. Nobody told me how to be an editor-in-chief. No one explained to me anything. And I have to say that, publishing was not such that you could call up another editor-in-chief and say, I don't even understand this list of stuff they're asking me to do. What does a draw mean? I see a sale, but what is a draw? I don't understand what a draw is. And you can't ask your boss because then you're going to feel like an idiot, right? So it was very lonely. Went from there to run Redbook for 3 years. And then I went to run Mary Claire for 5.5 years, and then to More for 8 years. And when they closed More, it was just very clear that I didn't want to, there was nothing good happening in magazines anymore. And it was all in decline. And so I opened up CoveyClub. Basically, what we do is we cater to women 40 and 50 plus. We are a community that we're building, and we give them the products and the support and the services that they need in order to make the transitions of midlife. And we know midlife has changed. You're going to have some kind of change. It could be a job loss, health issue, empty nest, divorce, widowhood, you name it. There's something going on. And when I had to go through that change alone, it was really, really hard. I mean, I spent, I was becoming a first-time entrepreneur at 60, and I didn't know what I was doing. And, it took me 3 weeks of research all by myself to find out which mail service I should use. Now, when you come to CoveyClub, if you're trying to figure out what you're going to do next, and maybe you have a product you want to sell, you want to start a business, you want to become a consultant, we can answer your questions in 3 seconds. Like literally, you hop on the Facebook page with everybody and say, I need to know this. And within 3 minutes, you probably have an answer that took me 3 weeks to do by myself. So that was kind of the whole idea, was bring women together. So when we can ride through these transitions together, we do amazing teaching. We do amazing challenges. We're just finishing up actually tonight. Yeah, tonight. A 30-day financial challenge where we're dealing with the emotional issues that women often have attached to money. It's often not about the money. It's about all this other stuff that we were taught about, how not to talk about it, how not to ask for it, all that stuff before you can even say what's in my, 401k. There's just all these other barriers that we have that men may not have. So we bring women together. We've been doing 30 days together. We have a wonderful woman who comes out of financial planning who wrote this fantastic program that I worked with her. Every day you get an inspiration. Every day you get something to, a quiz or whatever to learn about your money issues, your money style. So we do that on a regular basis, and we hit all those topics. It may be money. It might be sleep. It might be a marketing job. It might be how to set up your LinkedIn in a better way. It might be leadership skills. And what's different about CoveyClub is that we know how to teach women our age. What our kids know, and if you've followed what your kids say, they go, oh, just Google it on YouTube. And I'm like, there's this guy going, now just push the button here. Now push that button. Now push this button. No, go. And it's like, what button? I can't even find the button. Like, what do you, slow it down. Where's the slow button? I can't even follow you. We don't learn like that. We weren't brought up to learn on video. And so we teach, we let you ask questions, we bring in the experts. We are now, I'm really, really excited about just in the process of opening up something called the CoveyClub Marketplace. So many people have hired each other within the club already. I got my marketing person. I get, all my people who I've hired for CoveyClub come from within the club. And it turns out everybody else is hiring them too. And why wouldn't you? Like, rather than go to Upwork, if you need a marketing person and you already know this woman, she's been in your group or she's been in your class, or well, why wouldn't you stop there first? So anyway, so that's what the marketplace is about, is sort of making that obvious to everybody, saying, if you need a nutritionist, here's fabulous Jackie, and here's who's used her, and here's why, and here's what she's going to make a special offer to CoveyClub. So we're really trying to help support women in their next endeavors, whatever that might be. And people often come for the transition or come for the reinvention, and then they stay for the community that's there.
I really love what you've done and created with that. And thank you for sharing all of that. The thing that I believe you can share most in this with our podcast guests is that, or sorry, with our listeners, is that crucial early mistakes. And you've explained a few things, but I would ask if you could look over the past and think of crucial early mistake.
Which one?
Well, here's the
I
thing.
got
We
24.
learn the best from, it's so fun to
Yeah.
hear stories. And when I say fun,
Yes.
it's like, of course it's not fun for you, but
Right,
there's
right.
probably something you've learned that really was a catalyst to how you've been resilient. Clearly you're resilient. Clearly you are able to
Yeah.
innovate.
Resilience is
Clearly,
key.
this
Yeah.
leadership ability, but I don't want to point you in the direction. I would love for you to just take a moment and think of, what could I best share that was a crucial early mistake? Because I think it's important for us to know that those mistakes often are our greatest gifts. And if there's something outside of what you've already shared.
Well, I've made, dozens and dozens and dozens of mistakes. I can't say that I haven't made any mistakes. You hope you learn from them. You hope they're learning situations. I would say overall, if you look at my career, the overall story is about resilience and hanging in there. And I remember at one point when I got to editor-in-chief of Marie Claire, I remember asking myself, there were a lot of people who got to be an editor-in-chief of a magazine way before me, maybe 5 years, 7 years ahead of me. And I was looking around because I was like, well, who are my competitors? And I was like, wait a minute, where was so-and-so who had gotten here 5 years ago? Where was so-and-so who'd gotten to the top of L 5 years ago? Where did they go? They got hit once on the playing field. They got fired once. They got something and they walked away. And I think that's the tragedy of women being able to say, oh, well, I'll just go home and, I'll tend to my family, that one, which is, I'm going to work with my family now. And that's great for a period of time. And it's, it is wonderful because we are trying to balance both these things. But, when I was fired from Marie Claire, one of the things that I had to do is say, how do I get back up from this? And the really interesting thing to do is to hang in there and not walk off the playing field. Don't walk away. Don't let other people, as I say, don't let other people tell you when you're done. And so many people who are very qualified, wonderful editors, literally just disappeared. I don't even know what happened to them. And the same thing when my magazine folded. I could have, and a lot of people said to me, why are you going to do something else? You have such a great reputation. You could risk ruining it. Or I could be dead. That's my choice, right? So I decided I'd rather, like, who knows if CoveyClub's going to be a success? Maybe it'll be a flop. I have no idea. Here we are 7 years later. Most businesses close in 3 years. It's always paid for itself. Is it Google? No, but it's a good business and it does what I want it to do. And it, it does exactly what I've always done, which is try to give women a voice out there on the world and trying to support them and trying to have them be visible, especially at a time when we feel very invisible. And hanging in there is, I say, is just always very highly underrated. And if you talk to a lot of very successful people, and especially today, what's interesting is not, it may not be about you hanging in there. If you hang in there sometimes, it may be just when you think, those jobs where you think you can't take it any longer, you can't take the people, you can't take your boss, something is going on that you just don't feel aligned with. Today, things move so fast. You could wake up Monday morning, that whole management team is gone. Your nemesis is gone. They've been flushed away. And you were going to quit on Friday. And now you've got a whole new thing. You may have a great new boss. So there's a lot to be said for hanging in there. And I think that's true for today, because the speed of change and the speed of jobs. I mean, how many people expect to have a job for more than 2 years now in corporate life? They don't. 2 years, it's like what I say is like jobs in corporate life now have become like a nanny. If you get more than a year, consider yourself lucky, right? I mean, that's just the way it is, right? And, especially any young person who, when my son was looking for his first job and he was freaking out and he was, I'm like, what are you freaking out about? He's like, I don't know what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I'm like, buddy, 2 years. You don't know where you're going to be. Like, just pick for 2 years. That's it. No, what you're doing now is nothing to do with what you're going to do in 30 years. I promise you. And the way that things churn so fast now, these kids don't stick around for more than 2 years. So it's something that we all, you have to know when to leave and pack it in when it's not going to work for you. But also there is something to waiting things out and seeing what happens.
Such good advice. Such good advice on both sides. I'm curious if you have something that you go to in terms of what you would recommend. For you, you probably have this, but for someone who is in that transition and they're not sure, yes, okay, I could wait it out, or how do I know to stick that out?
Well, each case is individual. And if you're being abused in any way, you have to get out. If it's just, if it's just a matter of, I'm bored, and we all reach, I call it the stirring the pot phase of a job. Every job, if it's long enough, now it doesn't happen in 2 years. If you have a job in 2 years, you're not going to get to that phase. But if you're over that, I was 8 years at Moore, I was 9 years at Vogue. I always got bored very easily. Luckily, I had jobs that allowed me to do things on the outside that kept me interested. I'm a constant learner. That's one of the things that CoveyClub lets me do, is I teach a lot. We bring in experts, we teach upskilling, we teach all kinds of stuff. I love to learn. That's my juice. That keeps me going. So if you have the opportunity and you have the kind of job that will let you do things on the outside that don't compete, but keep you upskilling, keep you learning, keeping, those kinds of things are really important. So when it looked really grim at Moore, for instance, I went back and got my master's degree in sustainability, because at night at Columbia, what I thought I would do is okay, publishing is going down the drain. I've always been interested in environmental science. That was the first reason why I went to Duke in North Carolina. I wanted to go to Beaufort. But at that point, my writing took over. It was clear that my writing was going to be my career and that I would do better with that than environmental science. So I put that aside. And then I decided, well, I need to find a profession that I can segue into. I knew the beauty business. I'd been a beauty director at Glamour. And I knew they had a terrible sustainability issue with all the products that they throw into the garbage and into waste. And I mean, micro beads and all this stuff. So I thought, let me just take this at night. And then when they closed more, because every single year they used to ring the bell and tell us they were going to close us because we never fit with the family. We were always, we were always the redheaded kid that never fit because we were an upscale women's magazine that had nothing to do with cooking and cleaning. The rest of the company was cooking and cleaning for women. And they would come down the hallways and go, who's going to come to the pork board meeting? And I'd be like, we don't do food. Like, that's not what we do. We're talking to executive women. So I knew that wasn't, that was not going to work. And now I lost my train of thought for you. You were asking me
No,
about.
but that was good as you went on there, and it gives us some ideas. I
Yeah.
think I love how you share just genuinely and honestly. I love that about you. And okay, so I'll go back onto my list of things.
Yeah.
Your
Go.
go-to book. What's your go-to book?
Oh God. I'm such a deep reader, but I'm a history reader.
Oh,
I'm a real deep history reader. I read a little bit of fiction. But because I now moved to Louisiana, I am really deep into the history of Louisiana and slavery and all that stuff. So that's just kind of my side thing. I'm always learning new stuff. So I don't really have one thing. It's new stuff. I mean, currently I'm in the middle of a great book, which is called, I'm reading the Romney biography, which is fabulous, really interesting. I like presidential history and all that stuff. And then I had to, what was it? What is it called? I've tried Being Nice, which is just wonderful. And it's by Anne Leary. And it's just coming out in June. She's hilarious, and all about being a woman in her 50s. And my favorite part of it is her opening piece. There are a bunch of essays. It's about leaving the wanna be liked club at a certain point. And, how many of us are held hostage to wanting to be nice and wanting people to like us. And I was one of those people. And you get older, and what you realize is that not everybody's going to like you, no matter what you do. You're just going to walk into the room. They don't like the way you look. They don't like your outfit. They don't like the way you turned your head. You can't do anything about that. And you may as well not try. And you can't make people like you. You can be yourself and be as good a person as you can be, but some people are still not going to like you. It's just the way it is. So stop trying to be a people pleaser. And for all of us who've grown up as people pleasers, and I was the head of the people pleaser club, the wonderful thing about midlife is you can say goodbye to that. It's not that I don't care and I'm not rude or anything like that, but I accept the fact that you just may never like me. And that's okay.
I would not have thought of that about you, that you're a people pleaser.
Huge. Oh, huge. Oh my God.
Interesting.
I was told at Vogue that I was too nice and I would never make it there. And they were right. I had to leave and go to Glamour. And when I got to Glamour, the people were nicer and it fit more with who I was, even though when we got into the elevators together, the Vogue girls and the Glamour girls shared an elevator. I'd been at Vogue for 9 years and they pretended like they didn't know me anymore.
See, I don't get that. Doesn't have to be one or the other. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, and I'll just say one more time with regards to
Those are
CoveyClub.
stories for you.
Yes, exactly. There's probably so many good stories, but
I've got stories
what you've created,
yeah.
But what you've created now and have allowed for women to be in a space that we don't have to play those games, because you're right. Things are moving too fast. We don't have time for those nonsense games.
No more.
We need to
No
get
more
on
time.
with the show. We need to get moving and making the positive impact much faster without all this delay of being in our head and all that nonsense. And I love how you're just real and personable. So I highly recommend anyone who wants to check out CoveyClub to do so, because you will be in great company with an amazing group. So as we say goodbye, just share with us how we can get a hold of you and anything else you'd like to share.
And I just want to say it is a no judgment zone. I tend to attract, I repel the mean girls. The mean girls don't get anything out of me anymore. So they leave very quickly. CoveyClub, surprisingly, because people are sometimes intimidated by who the people are. We are really wonderful, friendly, supportive, really accomplished women. And there are people like that out there. If you haven't experienced them before, come to CoveyClub and you will. And you
And
can find us.
humble. And
Yes.
humble. I
Totally.
mean, you're a freaking rock star and you're just like this cool, awesome. When I came in to speak, it was just like, really, hey, we're here, we're real, we're fun, and we are personable and a real person, as opposed to trying to be these fake, like, yeah. So yeah.
What's the point? What's the point?
Exactly. That's what I say. What's
Like
the point?
before this thing, I'm running around trying to get my talked. I've got it over my shorts. I've got it over my running shirt. Like, that's who we really are. And if you can't be real, then what can you be? So come find us. Everybody can find us at coveyclub.com. We've got so much stuff for everybody. Anybody and I use the word reinvention as the large umbrella, but it's really rethinking, restarting, rebooting, reimagining. And it may just be a part of your life that you need to rethink. It may not be your career. It could be you want to lose weight finally. You want to deal with your mental health. You want to deal with elder care, older children. Whatever those things are, this is a group of supportive women who will help you with it. And the site has wonderful writing on it. All my fabulous writers from More came with me. And we have essays, we have checklists, we have guides, whatever you might need for midlife, we've got it for you in a very sophisticated way.
Fabulous. All right. Thank you so
Great.
much for being here as my wonderful guest.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Lesley Jane, thank you
Great.
so much. All right. Until next week, lead your life purposefully, personally and professionally, but lead yourself first.